Okay, welcome to the deep dive. We are plunging headfirst today into the very heart of the Kurukshetra War.
Right into a really pivotal moment.
Exactly, right after a huge shift,
Uh,
the fall of the commander, Bhishma.
Yeah, and it's a moment of just complete disarray for the Kaurava side. The sources say they were like drowning in grief.
Drowning in grief, wow, so it's more than just losing a general.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's strategic, yes, but also a huge emotional blow. It creates this massive um, vacuum.
And into that vacuum steps a new leader. We've got a great set of excerpts here, mostly from the Dronaparva of the Mahabharata. And our goal today is to really unpack the strategies, the key events, some truly devastating, and just the emotional weight of this next phase. We're focusing on Drona, the second Kaurava commander.
And these texts, they paint such a vivid picture. It's almost overwhelming sometimes, the scale of it all.
You mean the armies, the fighting?
Massive armies, yeah. Incredible, like almost unbelievable feats of arms. And the losses. The losses are profound.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Bhishma has fallen. Grief everywhere on the Kaurava side. Who takes charge?
Well, Duryodhana turns to Drona, the master teacher of warfare,
The guru, right.
the guru himself.
Yeah.
Unmatched knowledge of strategy of weapons. Duryodhana goes to him, asks him to lead, but also, interestingly, asks for a specific boon.
A boon beyond just winning the war.
Yes, something very specific. Victory, sure, but with a particular objective in mind.
Which is
His absolute top priority for Drona is to capture Yudhishthira. Alive.
alive. Hold on. Why alive? In the middle of this incredibly brutal war, that seems odd. It's not kindness, surely.
Definitely not kindness.
Nah.
Drona himself sort of questions it, like, why alive?
Right.
But it shows you how Duryodhana's mind works. Capturing Yudhishthira, the Dharmaraja, the one with the clearest claim, well, that offers a different kind of victory.
Ah, like a political angle. Control the rightful king, control the narrative.
Exactly. It's a strategic calculation. Maybe it legitimizes Duryodhana's rule in a way simply killing Yudhishthira wouldn't. It's pretty ruthless, really.
It really is. It's not just about force, it's about manipulating the rules, the lineage. Does Drona agree?
He does agree, but with a crucial condition, a really important one.
Okay, what's the catch?
He knows capturing Yudhishthira is basically impossible while Arjuna's there protecting him. Arjuna's just too formidable.
Makes sense.
So Drona says, fine, I'll try to capture him. But first you have to draw Arjuna away. Lure him off somewhere else on the battlefield.
Ah, okay, so that's the key. Remove the main protector first.
That's the plan. Get Arjuna occupied elsewhere, then make the move on Yudhishthira.
It's a multi-step strategy. Before we get to how they try to pull Arjuna away, give us a sense of the armies here. The sources seem to really emphasize the scale under Drona.
They do. The Pandava army, for instance, is described as just terrifyingly powerful, like capable of scaring the gods.
Wow.
And the Kaurava side. It's this incredible mix, a huge assembly of forces from all over.
And the descriptions are so specific. I remember reading about the horses, gold-backed ones, lotus-colored, even mouse-colored.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? You get this sense of all these different kings and their unique retinues converging. It paints a picture.
It really does. It's not just numbers, it's variety. Chariots, elephants, soldiers.
Meticulously detailed. And we should also mention Karna is back in the fight now.
Oh, right. He'd sat out for a bit.
Yeah, for 10 days because of an earlier promise he'd made. But now he's ready to go, adding another, major threat for the Pandavas.
Okay, so the stage is set. Drona's in command. The target is Yudhishthira alive. But step one is getting Arjuna out of the way. How do they manage that?
This is where the Samsaptakas come in. These guys are intense.
Samsaptakas.
Yeah, warriors who took this absolutely ferocious oath, either kill Arjuna or die trying. No other option.
Wow, that's commitment?
Total commitment.
Yeah.
And they specifically challenge Arjuna, knowing he won't back down,
Yeah.
trying to lure him away from the main fight, away from Yudhishthira.
And does it work? Does he take the bait?
He does. He has to engage them. And the battle is described as just unbelievably fierce.
Like, how fierce?
Arjuna's arrows are compared to lightning strikes. He's that powerful. But the Samsaptakas are relentless. Their sheer numbers and fury are immense.
This is a real struggle for him.
Oh, yeah. He even has to use a Brahmastra, a divine weapon, just to handle them. And the descriptions of the aftermath, they don't hold back. Severed limbs, piles of bodies. It's brutal.
Okay, so Arjuna is tied up dealing with these oath-bound warriors. Who else gets involved while he's distracted?
This is when Bhagadada makes his move. The king Pragyotisha.
Ah, the one with the famous elephant.
That's him. Riding his massive war elephant, Supratika, which is like a weapon in itself, he launches a major attack.
So Arjuna has to deal with him too.
Yes, leading to this really dramatic showdown. And Bhagadata has a powerful weapon of his own.
Another divine weapon.
Yes, the Vaishnava weapon. He launches it straight at Arjuna.
Okay, this sounds bad. How does Arjuna possibly survive that?
Well, this is one of those moments where Krishna steps in. Literally.
His charioteer, Krishna.
Who is also, divine. Krishna intercepts the Vaishnava weapon, takes its energy onto himself, effectively shielding Arjuna.
Wow. So Krishna saves him directly.
Directly saves him. And after that, with Krishna's help, Arjuna is able to defeat and kill Bhagadata.
So Arjuna wins that fight, but the Kaurava strategy worked, didn't it?
It did. He was drawn away, he was occupied, he wasn't near Yudhishthira.
Which means Drona can now spring his trap, the Chakravyuha.
The circle formation,
Okay.
or sometimes called the discus formation. Drona constructs this huge, elaborate, maze-like formation.
How huge are we talking?
The texts give dimensions, like 12 gavutis long. A gavuti is roughly 2 miles, so massive, over 20 miles long, designed specifically as a trap.
A 20-mile-long trap.
Okay.
Who on the Pandava side even knows how to get into something like that?
That falls to Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son.
Young Abhimanyu.
Yes, incredibly brave, skilled. The texts compare him to Krishna and his father combined in potential. And crucially, he had learned how to break into the Chakravyuha.
Oh, there's a catch, right?
There's the tragic catch. He knew how to enter, but he hadn't learned the technique to get back out.
Oh, no. So he knows it's potentially a one-way trip.
It seems so, or at least incredibly dangerous. But with astonishing courage, he breaches the formation anyway. He goes in.
And once he's inside?
He's like a force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
The descriptions are incredible, comparing him to Shiva, the god of destruction, or Kartikeya, the god of war. He just carves through the Kaurava forces.
Causing devastation.
Total devastation. He's really wrecking their ranks.
But the plan was for the other Pandavas, like Bhima and Yudhishthira, to follow him in, wasn't it? To support him.
Yes, that was absolutely the plan. But it fails. Critically
God
failed.
stops them.
Jayadra, the king of Sindhu. He had received a boon, a special power from Lord Shiva.
A boon. What could it do?
For one day, just one day, he had the power to hold back all the Pandava brothers except Arjuna.
And he uses that boon now.
He uses it right at the entrance to the Chakravyuha. Abhimanyu gets through, but Jayadratha slams the door shut, blocking Bhima, Yudhishthira, Nakula, Sahadeva, all of them.
So Abhimanyu is trapped inside. Alone.
Completely isolated inside this giant, deadly maze, surrounded by enemies.
And the fighting inside must have been chaos.
Absolute chaos. The texts mention intense hand-to-hand combat, specific wrestling moves, mace fighting, a total melee. Apparently it got so confusing people couldn't even tell friend from foe at times.
Just unimaginable. And Abhimanyu fighting alone against who is he facing?
He was facing a combined assault from the greatest Kaurava warriors, Drona himself, Karna, Ashwatthama, Kripa, multiple decays, Maharathi's great chariot warriors.
It's one young man.
He fights with incredible heroism. Even after his chariot is destroyed, his weapons broken, he keeps fighting.
But ultimately
Facing so many powerful warriors at once, completely overwhelmed that bring him down. He's killed inside the formation.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking. The loss of someone so young, so brave. How does the Pandava army even react to that?
It's utterly crushing. The sources describe the army just breaking, fleeing in grief and disarray. The morale is shattered.
And Yudhishthira?
His sorrow is described as incredibly deep, profound grief.
And then Arjuna. Arjuna wasn't even there. He was still fighting the Samsaptakas.
Exactly. He returns later to find out what happened. And his reaction, it's pure agony.
How is it described?
He collapses, just overcome with grief. He laments, he cries, and there's this heartbreaking line where he wonders if Abhimanyu was calling out for him, for help, during that final lonely fight.
That's devastating. Just devastating.
It truly is. And it's in this moment of terrible grief, particularly for Yudhishthira, that someone arrives. The sage Narada appears.
In Narada, to offer comfort, consolation.
Yes, but in a very specific way. He offers counsel to Yudhishthira.
What kind of counsel can you offer in the face of such loss?
It's quite profound, actually. Narada doesn't just offer simple condolences. He reminds Yudhishthira of history.
History. How does that help?
He recounts the stories of 16 legendary kings from the past. Kings like Sanjaya, Sibi, Yayati, Rantideva, figures known for their incredible virtue, their power, their sacrifices, their glory.
Okay. Famous righteous kings.
Exactly. And Narada's point is, despite all their greatness, despite everything they achieved, every single one of them eventually died. Death comes for everyone.
Ah, I see. So it's a way of putting the loss in perspective.
Precisely. It's a philosophical point about the universality of death. Even the greatest, most virtuous, most powerful beings are subject to it. It doesn't lessen the pain, maybe, but it frames Abhimanyu's death within the larger cycle of life and death. It reminds Yudhishthira that this is the nature of existence.
That's a powerful, if stark, lesson. How does Arjuna process this? Does his grief also find a focus?
Oh, it finds a focus.
Yeah.
His overwhelming grief it hardens into this
Yeah.
white-hot rage and resolve.
Directed where?
Directed squarely at Jadra, holding him responsible for blocking the way, for isolating Abhimanyu.
So he blames him for the death.
Directly. And fueled by this grief and fury, Arjuna swears a terrible oath.
What does he swear?
He vows that before the sun sets the next day, he will kill Jayadratha. Or if he fails, he will kill himself.
Wow. That's an absolute vow. High stakes.
Incredibly high stakes, it electrifies the entire situation.
How does Jayadratha react when he hears about this oath sworn against his life?
Utter terror, as you'd expect. He immediately runs to Duryodhana and Drona, seeking protection, reassurance.
And what do the Caravel leaders say? Can they protect him from Arjuna's wrath?
They reassure him. Duryodhana and Drona immediately start planning. They promise to protect him.
How? What's the plan?
They decide to surround Jayadratha with layer upon layer of their best troops. Multiple Akshakinis, remember those huge army divisions?
Tens of thousands of soldiers each.
Exactly, a massive human shield. And they decide to position Drona himself and his equally formidable son Ashwathama right beside Jayadratha as personal bodyguards. They're pulling out all the stops.
So they're setting up for an epic confrontation the next day. Arjuna trying to break through this massive defense to fulfill his oath.
Absolutely. But even amidst this central drama, the wider war just keeps grinding on.
Right. It's not like everything else stops.
Not at all. The sources mention Bhima, for example, still fighting ferociously, even challenging Drona directly, smashing his chariot at one point.
So the general fighting is still intense.
Relentless. Drona himself is in the thick of it, described as fighting fiercely, having his own close calls and narrow escapes. It's just constant, brutal conflict everywhere.
Okay, so this whole period under Drona's command, it's marked by this intricate strategy, this devastating loss, and now this intense buildup to the next day's battle.
Yeah, what we've really seen is that shift in command leading to a specific calculated plan, capture Yudhishthira. But that required the crucial step of luring Arjuna away.
Which they did, using the Samsaptaka Zimbagata.
Right, and that opened the door for the Chakravyuha, Drona's brilliant but deadly trap.
A trap that Abhimanyu bravely entered but couldn't escape, partly because Jayadratha blocked the reinforcements using that specific boon.
Exactly, and the fallout, the immense grief, Narada's philosophical counsel, and finally Arjuna's terrifying oath against Jayadratha, setting the stage for the next day's carnage.
Understanding these specific points from the sources, Drona's objective, the strategy to isolate Arjuna, Abhimanyu's vulnerability, Jayadratha's role, the reaction to the loss, it really helps you grasp the complexity and the human tragedy within this huge epic narrative.
It really does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've seen meticulous planning, incredible individual heroism, even divine intervention playing a role.
Yeah, Krishna saving Arjuna, Jayadratha's boon.
Right. But we also see characters bound by oaths, limited by what they know, like Abhimanyu only knowing the entry technique. It makes you wonder.
What's that?
Well, in a conflict described with so much detail about strategy and action, how much is actually down to planning and skill, and how much is shaped by, I don't know, fate, or these specific, almost random-seeming boons and curses that pop up and change everything?
That's a great question. Or maybe, on the flip side, when you're dealing with war on this kind of scale, with hundreds of thousands of soldiers, maybe even the most brilliant individual plan or the most heroic single warrior is just ultimately overwhelmed by the sheer numbers, the chaos, the fog of war.
Something definitely to think about as you reflect on these ancient stories and their echoes today. That brings us to the end of this deep dive.